Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All glories to Bhagwan Shri Krishna, Radha Madhava, and all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada, by whose mercy we are able to understand the divine words of Bhagwan Shri Krishna. Hare Krishna, guys. So in this video we'll read verse number 36, 37 and 38 of chapter 1. So let's start with verse number 36. Goes like this. Papam eva shraye dasman hatvaitana tatainaha tasman narha vayam hantum dhartarashtran sabandhavan swajanam hi katham hatva sukhinah shyama madhava. Papam vices eva, certainly, Ashrayat must come upon asman us hatva by killing, etan all this, atatayana aggressors, tasmat therefore, na never, araha deserving, vayam we, hantum to kill, dharta rashtra the sons of Dhritarashtra, sa bandhavan along with friends, swajanam kinsmen, he certainly, katham how hatva by killing, sukhinaha happy, Shyama will we become, Madhava, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune. So, Arjuna continues to give his reasons as to why he doesn't want to participate in the war. So, he says in this verse that sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune? And how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen? This is Arjuna asking to Krishna, right? So purport given by his grace. So according to Vedic injunctions, there are 6 kinds of aggressors. First, a poison giver. Second, one who sets fire to the house. One who attacks with deadly weapons. One who plunders riches. Fifth, one who occupies another's land. Sixth, one who kidnaps a wife, right? And all these aggressions has been done by the Kauravas, right? Such aggressors are at once to be killed, and no sin is incurred by killing such aggressors. Such killing of aggressors is quite befitting any ordinary man, but Arjuna was not an ordinary person, right? He was saintly by character, and therefore he wanted to deal with them in saintliness, right? This kind of saintliness, however, is not for a Kshatriya. Although a responsible man in the administration of a state is required to be saintly, he should not be cowardly. For example, Lord Ram, right? Prabhupada gives the example of Lord Ram, that Lord Ram was so saintly that people even now are anxious to live in the kingdom of Lord Rama, Ramarajya. But Lord Rama never showed any cowardice, right? Ravana was an aggressor against Rama because Ravana kidnapped Rama's wife Sita, but Lord Rama gave him sufficient lessons, unparalleled in the history of the world. In Arjuna's case, however, one should consider the special type of aggressors, namely his own grandfather, own teacher, friends, sons, grandsons, etc. Because of them, Arjuna thought that he should not take the severe steps necessary against ordinary aggressors. Besides that, saintly persons are advised to forgive. Such injunctions for saintly persons are more important than any political emergency. Arjuna considered that rather than kill his own kinsmen for political reasons, it would be better to forgive them on grounds of religion and saintly behavior. He did not therefore consider such killing profitable simply for the matter of temporary bodily happiness, right? After all, kingdoms and pleasures derived therefrom are not permanent. So why should he risk his life and eternal salvation by killing his own kinsmen? Arjuna's addressing of Krishna as Madhava, or the husband of the goddess of fortune, is also significant in this connection. He wanted to point out to Krishna that as the husband of goddess of fortune, he should not induce Arjuna to take up a matter which would ultimately bring about misfortune. Krishna, however, never brings misfortune to anyone, to say nothing of his devotees. Right? So at this point, Arjuna is giving his reasons to Krishna. Now Krishna, as we know that Vyasadeva wrote all these scriptures, right? And Vyasadeva is nothing but literary incarnation of Krishna. So at this point, Krishna, right, who is the author of all these scriptures, is telling to Arjuna to go and fight. Right? He is telling Arjuna to go and fight. Why bother about these scriptures? Right? And to which Arjuna is giving reasons from the scriptures itself, right? But the author of all the scriptures, Krishna, is saying that you go and fight, right? So now we'll come to verse number 37 and 38. Verse number 37 and 38 goes like this. Yad apyete na pashyanti lobhapahata chetasah kulakshaya kritam dosham mitra dohe cha patakam katham na geyam asmabhi papadasma nivartitam kulakshaya kritam dosham prapasyadbhir janardana. So, yadi if api even ete de na do not pashyanti, see lobha by greed, upahata overpowered, chetasa their hearts, kulakshaya in killing the family, kritam done, dosam fault, mitra drohe in quarreling with friends, cha also, patakam sinful reactions, katham why, na should not, gayam be known, asmabhi by us, papat from sins, asmat these, nivatitam to cease, kulakshaya in the destruction of a dynasty, kritam done, dosam crime, prapasyadbhi by those who can see Janardana, O Krishna. So Arjuna continues to say to Krishna, O Janardana, although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we, who can see the crime in destroying a family, engage in these acts of sin? So purport given by His Grace, a Kshatriya is not supposed to refuse to battle or gamble when he is so invited by some rival party. Right? Under such an obligation, Arjuna could not refuse to fight because he had been challenged by the party of Duryodhana. In this connection, Arjuna considered that the other party might be blind to the effects of such a challenge. Arjuna, however, could see the evil consequences and could not accept the challenge. Obligation is actually blinding when the effect is good, but when the effect is otherwise, then no one can be bound. Considering all these pros and cons, Arjuna decided not to fight. So this is a very great practical tip Prabhupada is giving us in the purport, that obligation is actually blinding when the effect is good, but when the effect is otherwise, then no one can be bound. Right? So when in our daily lives we carry any sort of activities, right, under the influence of others as well as under the influence of our own mind, right, if the consequence of that activity, the effect of that activity is good, then we are obligated to do that activity. But if it is otherwise, if any activity that we are about to do under the influence of others or under the influence of our own mind, whose effect is negative, right, which is not so virtuous, then we are not obligated to do that particular activity, right? And then we should straight away refrain ourselves from doing that activity, withdraw ourselves from doing that activity. So this is a very great practical tip that is given here by Prabhupada in the purport, which we can implement, right? So guys, in the next video we'll continue from verse number 39. Okay guys, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.